Hey, what's up out there, online community? And thanks for stopping by and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser, where I talk sports for the fans, oftentimes with the fans. Today, I'm very excited because we've got a great group of people that are going to be joining us to talk about one of the things that you have been asking for, and that is boxing. So you guys have asked for it. I went out and got some fans that are excited about talking about boxing. I'm excited to hear from them. But before we get into it, you know how we do it. Grab your favorite libation if you've got them. Raise your glass, and we're about to get into a straight no chaser.
Cheers.
Water.
Salud. Hey, what's up, online community? And thanks for stopping in and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser, where I talk sports and pop culture for fans with the fans. Today, we've got a very, very special segment. One I'm excited to talk about. We've got some sports fans that are very knowledgeable about something, boxing. We have not done boxing. I'm looking forward to the conversation, the history of boxing, fan favorites, what's coming up, what's hot, what's not. And before we get into that, you know what we're gonna do. If you have your favorite libation, raise them to the air.
Cheers, fellas.
Straight no chaser.
Yeah, I'm double fisted tonight. I got the whiskey and I got the beer.
Oh man, who's had a day out there?
I am ready.
That's what's up. Cheers. Double cheers.
Salud, guys. So,
Salud.
I'm really looking forward to this, having a discussion with this group. First off, let me introduce our fans and our guests that are with us tonight. We have Theron Tang, Thorn Wildcat, South Suburbs very own. We have Big Frenchie Wright, needs no introduction. KB Ken Brown, direct from Iowa. Paul
Oh, man.
Big Ken.
Eddie Murphy of Iowa.
Good night of Straight No Chaser.
That's my guy right there.
Conversations. Paul Simon, representing all the way from New Orleans, the NOLA, 9th Ward. What's up?
Light Skin Nation.
Well,
Hey,
I'm
send
in
me
Master.
some beignets.
Master P.
And
Going personally, he went to St. Aug.
the first lady
We doing
of
this
South
personally.
Suburban Sports. The first lady of South Suburban Sports. Tina, Lady T, welcome aboard. So thanks guys for dropping in. I know this has been a hot topic of discussion. I know in particular because Mike Tyson's got the boxing ring. I'm not sorry, the boxing ring, the boxing world of buzz. You know, there's pictures and videos of him hitting the pads and connecting, and Evander Holyfield is now posting the video. So now the boxing world is kind of a buzz, whereas UFC have been kind of reigning the roost, taking the lead in competitive or combative sports. So I'm glad that we're able to have this segment. First off, before we even get into some of the stuff with Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, so let me ask you, and let me start with, I want to start with Tang. What are your thoughts on the state of boxing as it is right now?
I think it's making a comeback from like the down years when there was no real heavyweight division. For like a better part of a decade at least, there was hardly any heavyweight division. Basically, after Lennox Lewis and the Klitschko's, and up until when Wilder jumped up and started busting heads, the heavyweight conversation wasn't much of a conversation at all. And that used to be the biggest. That was the most coveted title in the world at one time, heavyweight champion of the world. It didn't get a whole lot bigger than that, So, but I think it's making a comeback now. A lot of the smaller cats, I thought, held up until we got a decent heavyweight division. I still think it's fairly. I don't think there's a whole lot of parity in the heavyweight division right now, but I think boxing as a whole is making a comeback.
Okay, good.
It's on the upswing, I think.
Okay.
Got a lot of action fighters.
Good. KB, what about you? I know you're a boxing guy. What are your thoughts on the state of boxing as it is right now?
Well, I agree with Theron. It's making a comeback. I prefer watching the lighter weight divisions fight. I think there's more competition, better athletes at the lighter weights. Heavyweights, outside of Deontay and Fury, there's really not anyone who's making any noise. The heavyweight ranks for the last 10, 15 years have been pretty weak. So to me, that's the weak point as far as boxing. But there's a lot of young good fighters coming up in the lighter weight divisions, man, and that's what's making it exciting right now.
Okay. Tina, what are your thoughts? Now, I know I referred to you as the first lady of the South Suburbs, but you're very knowledgeable in all sports. So, I definitely want
That's true. That's true. You can thank my father for that.
to thank you for.
Well, here's my thoughts. I'm really hopeful that the heavyweights take their proper position as heads of boxing, because growing up, that's where all the money was. That's where to me the greatest boxers was in the heavyweight division, and I like to see the big guys fight. I mean, the little guys, they're good. There's some that I like better than most, but for the most part, I like a heavyweight fight first. I mean, I think that you got to remember, I grew up with Muhammad Ali, and
right.
he was the greatest. He was so charismatic. He made the sport a sport. Even when he had his rivals, I mean, those were like exciting to see. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a comeback.
Yeah.
Right. I'm hoping for a comeback. I mean, Mayweather, I think that, he talks a lot. He tries to be charismatic, but, I watch his fights and I'm disappointed. I hope heavyweight comes back and takes his place. And when it does, I think you'll see a difference in boxing.
Okay. Good. Hold that thought, because you touched on something that we're going to talk on later, Tina. So I'm glad you kind of brought up something we're going to talk about later. I want to go to who I like to refer as one of the boxing aficionados in the group, Paul Simon. Paul, thoughts on where we're at in the state of boxing?
I think deep down, everyone's the reason why we say it's making a comeback is because overall, I think everyone's a little disappointed by boxing overall.
I agree.
Depending on how old you are, you've kind of sort of seen it all. So at the end of the day, when you take a look at what's being presented, whether or not it's in the heavyweight division or even the lower weights, the skill level is just not the same. And technically, you tend to see a more a better skill level at the lighter weights than you do heavyweights. Like, for instance, Wilder, he's knocking everybody out. He's showing all this power, but I watched that guy and I was saying the first guy he ever fights that can actually hit in box is going to knock him out. He's wide open. He's as far as a technical fighter, on a scale of 1 to 10, he's like a 4. And this is talking about a guy who has severe knockout power. I mean, tremendous knockout power. He has the belt. He's making his money. He's putting on a show. But the fact is, even before Mike Tyson got in shape, I said the old Mike Tyson would knock him out because he's too old. Before Michael,
he's not a boxer.
We're not going to go Mike Tyson just yet.
I got to give you about 2 minutes before we go Mike Tyson. The reason I say that is because your ability to fight is one thing, but your ability to survive a punch is another.
Okay.
That's true.
And so what happens is you got somebody like Wilder. The reason why he got knocked out is because Fury could survive his punches, but he couldn't. He's a bomber. And look, and this is all personal. The fact is that I would fight today. I would fight a 6'5" guy before I fight a 5'10" guy. That 5'10" guy's been fighting all his life. That 6'5" guy has been walking around with benefit of doubt. Nobody's been touching him because he's so big. He ain't had no fights. You want to fight somebody who's tough? Pick on a 5'7" dude.
Hey, I'm 5'7".
I'm
Pick on
not
a
going
5'7" dude. I bet you. Look, my son is in his teenage years, right? And I tell him, whatever you do, don't be messing around with them little dudes.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Look, they mad as hell at the world right now. They will take all that frustration and whip your butt. But I think we're all disappointed when we look at boxing. They don't fight as often, obviously. I don't mind the money, because that's a high-risk sport. I don't.
Right, it is.
But they don't fight often You never get to see these, the rankings mean absolutely nothing.
Okay.
The fighters who hold the belt, don't honor the whole #1 contender.
Yeah.
Remember those days when you used to see these guys who were just
Right.
dying to get a belt?
Yeah, a lot of those guys just take their mandatories.
Let me say this. I can see Paul has got a lot of history and nostalgia inside. I want to make sure that we're able to allow him to share that because some of the things you're sharing, we're gonna touch on a lot of that throughout this conversation. I want to have a chance to hear from my guy, the big Frenchman over there. But you guys are all touched on some really good points. And I think the one common theme that I'm hearing is that the heavyweight division is what carries boxing because that has been lacking. The interest has been. So, but before we get into that, let's talk to the Frenchman.
Okay. I think with the heavyweight division, you're seeing a lot of guys now that the heavyweights are playing football. I mean, you might have some great guys that would be heavyweight fighters that are playing football because it's becoming a money grab. So I say that to say Deontay Wilder was on a Budweiser truck driving back, had good hands in the street, and somebody said you should be a boxer. So he went to the Olympics, and he only had it like a few months of training, which is incredible on his part. But at the same time, now you're going into better competition. You're going to get beat. You have no jab, anything like that. I've always liked the smaller fighters because it just seemed that they had more skill. And then there's some good young fighters like the Charlo brothers. Love the Charlo brothers.
Oh, what you talking about, Willis? Boy, skill.
When I say skill, I mean to say that in the heavyweight division, the whole allure to it was it can end in one punch. But over history, we've always had really good middleweights. We had really good welterweights, junior welterweights. But the money for the heavyweight guys, because these are the big guys, they create a narrative. And then we were blessed to have again, Muhammad Ali was the anomaly. I mean, you had a lot of bruises. Of course, they got skills, but I'm just saying overall in the division, that it's always been that the heavyweights were the power guys. And when you seen a middleweight back in the day, that wasn't a power guy, that was a power guy, like one punch knockout power like Tommy Hearns. Even if
Tommy Hearns was good, but he mimicked, to me, Muhammad Ali. He tried to anyway.
But to his point, though, I think there's a couple things that I think are really key. I think first off, like you guys are saying, the heavyweights are what carry. You've got quality fighters on all levels, but the heavyweights are the big draw because it's more exciting. It could end at a moment's notice, things like that. I think part of the challenge is you've got some of those guys that would be heavyweights now playing football. Some of those may be in the UFC. So there's competition more for that person with that particular body type and that level of aggressiveness and competitive nature. So it's a little sounds like the talent pool is a little bit more diversified in terms of what they're doing and what they're doing.